Hey guys, Adam here with another live at 9:45, and tonight I have a very special guest. I have Erik Dye on the show. If you don't know who Erik Dye is the guy behind Deluxe Fab. And so Deluxe Fab has kind of taken the scale world by storm with the brass knuckles and some of the other stuff, and we're going to talk to him a little bit about that and what's going on. But first and foremost, let me talk to you a little bit about what's going on tonight. Adam VanOrd, you're watching Live at 9:45. Live at 9:45 is an interview series where I interview some of the more prominent people or just whoever I find interesting in the scale RC community. The goal there is to provide exposure to those people in a positive light and shine light on the amazing things they're doing, because there's some amazingly talented people in our community, and it's amazing. Okay, so people are logging in. People are making comments, and that's awesome, guys. I appreciate every comment. I appreciate everybody who takes the time, logs into the show, and leaves a comment. I'll address them all at the end. It's rare that we'll address comments when we're talking, just because of the flow of the interview. The one thing I do ask is please keep it PG oriented. Being a teacher, and I'm trying to put out a positive influence in the scale community, as well as anybody who might see it from my own personal community. So I just thank you all for taking on that challenge as well. Last but not least, next week I have I have something special or weird next week, actually. But let's talk a little bit about one other thing I have going on before I bring Erik on. One other thing I have going on is currently everything on my website is 20% off. That's VanOrdCustoms.com. Head over there, use code SUMMER20, and that'll give you your discount on whatever you choose to order. While Erik's getting brought up, I'll talk a little bit about my social media stuff, and we'll go from there. So if you don't already, follow me on YouTube. That's where all these videos get dropped afterwards. They go over to YouTube, and you can watch them for your later viewing pleasure. And I also have some other stuff going on over there. Hey, how's it going, man?
Hey, I guess I made it. Sorry, like I say, I don't use my phone, so I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if you requested me to be on a while ago or not.
No, you are good. I was just chattering about random stuff, so you're perfectly good.
Oh,
I love the outside
okay.
venue. I haven't had anybody be outside before. That's great.
Yeah, man, it's nice weather. I don't like sitting inside. I sit inside all day,
I
So
I hear you.
we'll see how it goes.
It's like pitch black
There's
in my house, so.
oh, yeah, it's probably pitch black in my house, but we'll have some screaming kids and probably some neighbors walk by, interrupt us or something fun.
All right, that's great. So, uh, let's just fire this up with let's talk a little bit about who you are. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Um, well, I guess as most people know, my name's Erik, and owner of Deluxe Fab. Um, I'm a one-man show. Most of the stuff I make is well, it's kind of switching. I used to have everything was handmade. Still have a lot of stuff that's handmade. I think a lot of people won't realize that, but switching over to CNC type stuff. But it's all kind of I guess you'd call it like a grassroots kind of parts, like a lot of people will probably get this, but it's a lot of difficult to put together. But once you put it together, it'll work good for you kind of stuff. It's not, I don't make like anodized, pretty, blingy parts, all my parts are pretty much all about function,
Right,
function over
performance
form.
based.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I go off of.
That's awesome. How,
Yeah.
Erik, how long have you been in the hobby, man?
Been in the hobby pretty much as long as I've been in business, which is, I started early 2009. I had a low-C comp crawler, and the thing was a piece of crap. A lot of, sorry, I don't know if you want me to say crap.
You're good.
I'll try to keep it cleaner.
No,
But
crap is fine.
I just had a comp crawler and it wasn't working, and I found there was not a lot of good aftermarket parts, and a lot of times when I want things, I find the only way to get the things I want is to make them myself. So that's what I started doing, was making parts for that comp crawler, and uh, things just went on from there.
Yeah. So, do you have a background like in making things yourself, or is that not like, are you trained to do that, or is it just like a skill like you've developed over time?
Well, kind of not really. when I was younger, when I was, up to my 20s, I just didn't know how to fix anything. My first car, I've been thinking about it lately because I just got another one of the same one. But
Yeah.
my first car when I was 16, like, man, I didn't know how to fill the antifreeze. I didn't know how to do a tune-up. I didn't know how to do anything. Um, and so it's been a huge learning curve. And after that car, I bought a 72 FJ40, a Land Cruiser, and I ended up going four-wheeling with that. And when you go four-wheeling and you want to push the envelope a little bit, you got to learn how to work on things yourself unless you're rich, which I'm not.
Fair enough.
So I started learning how to work on that, and I modified that, and that Land Cruiser really taught me a lot about fabrication and a lot about trying to take your time and do things correctly. Because most people that go four wheeling will know if you don't do things correctly on your car, you're going to break them, and it's not a whole different than RC. Like, you really just got to have your stuff together, and a lot of times you can't find parts that you need, so you got to make things. So
Right.
that's kind of how I got the background in RC crawling, was the one-to-one stuff.
All right. I mean, that makes sense. I was lucky enough. I grew up in a family where my dad works machine repair, and he fixed everything. So I held the flashlight for decades before I had
Yeah,
to turn wrenches. So that it was
yeah, that's
nice.
pretty cool. I've got my 4-year-old son. I tried to get him to do that, but a lot of times the flashlight's pointing at the ceiling or in his mouth or something.
Yeah, I got yelled at a lot for that. Flashlight wasn't where it was supposed to be. You can never get it in the right spot, man. It's not even possible.
Never.
Uh,
Yeah, never.
so what was your wait? Who or what got you into the hobby in the first place?
Well, so I quit my corporate job in 2008, 2009, and the idea was is I was going to do one-to-one fabrication.
Okay.
And 2008, 2009, those years don't need a lot of explanation. They were pretty tough times. So it was probably the worst time in history, other than the Great Depression, to start your own business and try to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Um, and especially in the one-to-one business, like, man, it's tough when times are good. But that's what I went to do is I went to do one-to-one stuff in 2008, and it just didn't work out. I didn't have any business really. But while I was messing around waiting for business and trying to figure out how to do a business, one of my good friends brought over an AX10,
Okay.
and I just happened to have like a bunch of rocks along my fence line, and man, we just drove those rocks along my fence line, and we thought we probably had to be the best in the world because we could drive those rocks. But same thing, right? Like, I looked at those cars and I was just like, man, these cars, like, so much could be done to these, and I just saw a wide open market for them. And so that's why I was saying that's shortly after that I went and got a comp crawler, and
Right.
um, the Losi comp crawler, and that's how it all started.
Awesome, man. That's a great start. So, if you weren't into RC, what would be your hobby of choice, you think?
I guess it depends if I've got to make money. um, I'm really into, like, I guess you'd call it like health and fitness,
Okay.
which I'm not going to make any money. So, but I like cycling and just going to the gym, yoga, that kind of thing, and like diet, like I'm in a diet, like those sort of things. But since, like I said, that I don't make money, you can't really, unless you're good.
Right.
I can't make money at that. So I think I was born to make or fix things. I think that's just who I am, and it's kind of in my blood. Like, my grandpa and my dad, and um, everybody's just kind of been like just blue collar, hands on people.
All right. Yeah, that's perfect, man. Um, so my next question is very much geared toward the scale scene, and I know you don't spend a ton of time with scalers, or at least I haven't picked up on that you spend a ton of time with it. But big tires or small tires?
Dude, I don't even know what you're talking about. Whatever's the legal limit. You got as big as the legal limit goes. Whatever you guys scale guys do.
Fair
Like,
enough.
I'm not like,
So
I don't
so let
I
me
don't know.
shift
I
it.
guess nobody.
Do you like your super, or like did you like running the
Oh
mini
yeah.
crawlers or
No,
comp or sporty or
stop.
whatever?
It's all about super. It's all about supers, man.
Yeah.
Supers, supers. Yeah. If you steer, huge tires, like a lot going on, that's the only way to go. I like it. The more complicated, the
Yeah.
better. So
All
I
right.
just like something that twists your head even harder. Like, I mean, and it goes down from there. Like the 22 Pro, I like better because it has dig, and then of course the Sporty is just like I don't get it. It's got 2 channels. I don't know what I'm supposed to do in my spare time.
Right.
So
No, that definitely makes sense. So I'm gonna pose a question to all the people out there who are watching. If you are a comp crawler or have comp crawled, or know anything about it, what's your favorite class to participate in, compete in, whatever it is? Answer them up, and you'll watch comments stream like crazy, most likely. So Eric, brushed or brushless?
uh, well, I guess I got to go brush just because it's simple.
Okay.
It's less wire, less weight, that sort of thing. But I mean, if you're talking about like a Yeti or a Wraith or something, I mean, man, you got to go brushless. I guess it just depends on the car.
Okay. All right. That's a good answer. What do you like most about RC in general, and then kind of like the scale RC scene, the comp crawler RC scene, whatever it is? What do you like most about it?
For me, it's kind of like I just said. It's trying to perfect something, trying to look at something. Like if you're out crawling an obstacle, like look at your car and say, just keep pushing the obstacles. And once you get to an obstacle you can't make, look at that obstacle and say, well, why can't I make this? And how can I make my car make it?
Yeah.
And then just thinking about, the craziest stuff in the world about how to get there and how to make things better.
Okay.
So that's my favorite part is modifying and being creative and just trying to progress, trying to make things the best they can be.
Well, and I think that shines through when you take a look at all the products that you offer, like on the Deluxe Fab site. Everything on there is performance based. Everything is stepping something up for the like almost everything on there. Like you don't. There are very few things that you like are reselling like some other manufacturers, and it's because that's what works with the stuff that you've upgraded. So the creativity
Yeah,
portion is definitely there. So
yeah,
how
yeah. Thank you.
how did it all get kind of fired up and go in the direction you ended up there with Deluxe Fab really taking off? Like you said, you wanted to do one-to-one fabrication, and then you started dabbling in the RC stuff. But like, how did it really ramp up? Like, what really skyrocketed it?
When I bought a Berg, um, the Losi, yeah, those Losi guys that are watching, like, I don't know what's up with you guys, man. Like, I made some pretty cool parts for the Losi in the day, like a chrome ollie worm. I mean, that was that is still probably one of the coolest parts ever made for a comp crawler. But man, there's just no support at all. So it pretty much took going from a Losi to going to a Berg. And once I went to a Berg, it was just, man, it was just pretty much wide open. People were still running like super heavy cars, like nobody really understood lightweight stuff. So I just started making things adjustable. I made Delrin tubes was one of the very first thing I made for the Berg, and that, I mean, it went from, I mean, you were probably sitting like a 10-ounce front axle, and I could get them down to, I don't know what, 4 or 5 ounces, like take 5 or 6 ounces off each axle.
Yeah,
And it, like I remember when I made that first car, and I showed up to a comp with a 5-pound car, which is a heavy car these days,
yeah.
and people were freaking out, man. They didn't know what to think. So it just kind of busted everything wide open for me when I started offering like lightweight parts and for the Berg and whatnot. So that's really what took off for me.
All right.
I made a lot of those tubes. There's a lot of those tubes out there.
I believe it. Pretty much every pro rig that I see has some version of something deluxe on it. Um, that when I surf the internet, whatever, it's one of the things that I'd like to get into, but I never have. Is the comp scene? It's just there isn't anybody doing it near me, and so I just never buy one. Every time I have money, I just buy another scale truck.
Yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from Pennsylvania, so like an hour south of Erie, Pennsylvania.
Okay. Well, I went to the Northeast National Championship there, and didn't look like a lot of rocks. We went to the where that off-road park was,
Okay.
the Roush
Yeah.
off-road, I think. So, yeah, I think, I mean, if you live in an area like that where it's more like dirt and stuff, I mean, I'm on your side. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Go buy a scaler where you got the terrain for it. Why not?
I'm actually really well blessed to live right next to the Allegheny National Forest, and there's some big rocks out there, and I could run on them, but I mean, with the scaler, I can literally just throw down like in the backyard and do whatever. So,
Yeah.
uh, but
Yeah. I guess to me, it comes down to like the satisfaction though too. To me, I get like a huge dopamine rush of doing something that looks impossible.
right,
I think there's a couple different kinds of people in remote control cars, and I think the majority of people are people that like to have a controller in their hands, and they like to have something that reacts to what they're doing. And I'm not that guy. Like, I don't fly drones. I don't, I'm not like a drifter. I don't do drifters or tanks. Or there's some people that have like snow plows. Like, I don't understand what they're doing. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I want to find obstacles, and I want to climb obstacles, and I want to do something impossible.
yeah.
Because like I said, that feeling when I get up that obstacle is just like, I mean, it's like shooting heroin in your veins or something. I mean, I've never done heroin, but I assume it's you know, I hope that's still clean enough for this
Oh
show.
no, you're
But you know what I mean.
you're perfectly
Probably
fine,
for
man.
sure. I mean,
Um,
okay.
so let's shift to, is Deluxe Fab your full-time job? Like, I know you've been doing it for a while and all that. Is this what you do?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the last decade, it's been a full-time job.
All right. So you said that you left a corporate job. What did you do before?
I worked for Intel. I was like they call this a chemical technician. Um, I don't know how to put it, but just a corporate Intel job, and everything that is not great about corporations.
Fair enough. Nothing quite like working for yourself, I bet. I mean, I'm not blessed enough to be able to do that, but it'd be an interesting change of what goes on in my year for sure. So
Yeah, I don't know, man. A teacher would be a pretty sweet job, I think, especially that if you can get that 3 months or whatever off. That's pretty
it
nice.
goes so fast, like it's unbelievable. It's already been two
Yeah,
weeks, and I feel like just yesterday. So, and I've been super
yeah,
busy, like more busy than the school year. It's nuts. Uh,
yeah.
so what was your original product that you came out with, and where did that inspiration come from?
The very first product,
Yeah.
the I think the very first product I ever came out with was um, little shock balls. I don't know. Can you hear the barking dogs?
Oh yeah, they're great.
I got some great barking dogs. I like to fight over the fence. The little shock balls. So they're just little balls that go into. I mean, as for the comp crawler, they go into the eye of the shock. And everybody back then was using fuel tubing, and I just thought fuel tubing was like the craziest thing. Like, I want my shock to work. I don't want the fuel tubing to work.
Right.
And so that was probably my first product, I think, and I still actually sell that today. I mean, it's actually one of my better sellers still.
Awesome. That's great. So, did you ever think that the Deluxe Fab would grow to be as big as it has become?
No, absolutely not. Like, I count my blessings every day. Just I don't even know what's going on. I don't know how I got here. I don't know how it keeps going. I just I wait for the other shoe to drop tomorrow, but it's the opposite. It just keeps growing, and so it's just I feel really fortunate for everything I have.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, how many products do you have? So as I start like leafing through your website, you have a pretty big inventory of things that you do. Do you know a number? Like how many are out there?
Um, well, I have like I think it's 260 products, but the problem with that is there's variations of each product. So there's some sort of exponential number in there. Um, like my knuckles, if you're going to count that as a different product, like aluminum knuckles, brass knuckles, aluminum arms, carbon fiber,
Right,
like just knuckles alone, got to be 20 different versions. You know what I mean?
right.
So and that goes on and on and on. So I have no idea, but my SKUs go up to like 260 or something.
All right, gotcha. Um, I lost my spot. I apologize. What do you like most about running Deluxe Fab?
It's just a challenge. Um, I think it just pushes you to be, well, it should be pushing you to be a better person, and it exposes all your flaws. And so I think you either have to work on those flaws or you just continue to be who you are, and that's not who I am. So I like things that challenge me, and I like things that expose my flaws. And it's not really different than building an RC car in a way,
Okay.
because it's like I have to modify myself, right, to try to be a better person.
Okay.
Like if somebody contacts me and they're rude or something, and I get defensive, then I have to kind of work on, why am I being defensive? Why am I treating these people this way? Like, why am I doing this? Which is a big challenge for me.
Right.
Um, so that's what I like, because I like that it exposes all my problems and it forces me to deal with them.
Awesome. What is your least favorite part about running Deluxe Fab?
It's probably the same answer. It's man, I mean, dealing with people is hard. Like, see this Jeffrey Jones guy?
Yeah.
He's like, this is blah. Like, Jeffrey, like, what's going on, dude? Like, what? Like, why the negativity? Like, why you being a jerk? Like, why you can't come in here and just be like, hey, man, this isn't for me. I'm out. Like, what are you doing, Jeffrey? You know? But there's just people out there that want to act that way, I guess, and it is what it is. And I need to come to terms with that somehow.
Yeah. You just gotta let it roll off your back. It's all good. Um, so let's talk a little bit about what you think has been the biggest crossover product into the scale scene. Like, I know you're not a huge scale guy by any stretch of the imagination. Do you even have a scale truck?
I've got a Yeti. It's as close as I get.
That's close. We'll give it to you. Um, but uh, what do you think is the biggest crossover, and why do you think it took off so much?
Well, it's definitely the knuckles. As soon as somebody figured out that putting weight on a scaler is a good thing, the knuckles just blew up.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, that's by far my best selling product right now, and maybe ever. Um, so I don't know. It's hopefully the scale guys can figure out. It seems like scale guys are probably like a decade behind comp guys. So hopefully they can follow us a little bit and understand there's a lot of brass going on the scale world right now, and there's a lot of brass where it shouldn't be. You get my drift, but
Follow you.
I don't know. Yeah. So it's kind of like, but I understand, like, you're trying to keep it. I don't know. I guess I don't understand. So I don't know if you want to get me started.
It's that performance trade-off, performance versus
Yeah.
looks, and where does it go from there? So, um,
Yeah, and I think everybody's confused about it, right? I don't. If there was a definition, I think it would really help everybody out. But it's like you have 400 definitions, and then it's nobody knows what's going on. That's the way I feel about scaling.
I think that's the hardest part is that it's not 100% clearly defined. But the problem is if they 100% clearly define it, then there goes a bunch of the creativity and the uniqueness that takes place inside of the scale community. And so I think people are trying to preserve both sides of that. And I think they've done a really good job
Yeah.
compromising in the center. But I do think that I see what you're
Yep.
saying.
It's so tough. So I mean, I'm glad I'm not in control of that. Those Sorka guys, man. I mean, geez, that's a tough job. That
Yeah.
is rough.
As soon as
There's
you,
no answer. I mean, that's the problem.
yep. And then everybody wants to question them immediately, and I am totally guilty of that a couple times. But everybody wants
Yeah.
to question them immediately, and then like they have to. I'm pretty happy I'm not on that committee. I can't lie. So, um, what products of yours do you think are like the most easily adaptable into the scale scene? So we talked about the knuckles, but what else are people using in the scale community?
Scale guys, I think they like my trusses. I sell quite a few, like the AR60 trusses.
Yep, I
Seems
have a
like
set
any
of those.
truss I can make. What's that?
I have a set of the AR60 trusses.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I have
Cool.
them on my class
Um,
B. I have your knuckles too, and I meant to put them on my truck. I just have not worked on it. So I snagged them on one of the sales you did. I was like, the first one you did,
oh,
it went like bam, and I didn't get in. The second one, as soon as it came up, I was all over that. So
yeah, yeah. That was a pretty good deal. I'll have to try to do that again. Um, yeah, but I mean, it's pretty much knuckles and trusses, and I don't know. Those seem to be the two products that work out good on scalers.
yeah,
And then I have a hard time. I have a hard time getting my products out to scalers, and I'm not sure why. I just came out with I don't know if you watched my site or not, but I came out with those new rear axle shafts for the AR60, and
yeah, I saw that.
I mean, anybody just complains about bent axle shafts, and so it's like I come out with those, and there's been a couple sales, but it's like I don't understand why there's not hundreds of orders, because I mean, how many axial cars are out there, and how many axial cars need that? And I get it, it's expensive, but at the same time, how many stock shafts do you want to buy?
Right.
So, and I think that's a lot of my problem too. Is like I offer stuff, and it just there's not a lot I can do about it. It just ends up expensive, and there's a lot of people that just don't understand, or they don't have the money, or
Yep.
whatever, and so there's a lot of dynamics. You know what I mean? And I get that, but I'm not into making. I try not to. I should say I try not to make subpar things that have issues. So I would rather just make something. Uh, excuse my words. I'd make something badass, and if it's more expensive, it's more expensive. And if they don't sell, they don't sell. But I don't want to deal with making smaller, inferior parts.
Right. And I tend to agree with you. And so pricing things is a whole nother world of conversation, and it's a difficult thing. But in the end, you should make the best thing you can make, and then price it accordingly. And if people want it, they're gonna pay for it. Like, I mean, people buy your knuckles hand over fist, uh, and they're not the cheapest thing out there by any stretch of the imagination. But they're awesome. They're great, and they do an amazing job. So
Yeah. What people don't get though too, don't I don't just like I don't buy my knuckles for $3 and then decide that they're worth 100. Like that's
right,
not how it goes.
right.
Like I make my stuff and then I take my price and then you've got like a calculation you can do whatever you're doing, and you gotta figure all that out. And it's just the prices are what they are. If I could sell those knuckles $5, I would, like, no problem.
Yeah,
So it's just the way things work out. I don't have a lot of say in my prices, believe it or not.
I I 100% believe what you're saying. That it is what it is. It's the way it works, and if you want to pay for the quality, you pay for the quality. And I mean, I think it's pretty evident when you look around in the scale world, and I mean, not in the scale world, in the comp world, and you see how much of your stuff's out there that there's good quality attached to it. Let's talk a little bit about, do you like, why comp crawlers over scalers?
Oh man, you're gonna get deep if you keep going on these questions.
Oh yeah,
Um, here's the thing though, man. I would be into scalers 100%. I could get into scalers, but every time I think like, man, I'd build a scalar, and I start thinking about scalar, I think of rules, and I just go out. Like I'm out. Like I just can't do it. And I actually did try to scale once. Here in Utah, they have the 801 Club, and they have it's kind of like it's like a I mean you drive your scale car and you run after it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So they call it an ultra. Um, I went to one of those comps, and of course I like to push it. And my car was lightweight, and nobody liked it, and so they made a bunch of rules and said that I couldn't run anymore. And that's all fun and games until you figure out that that cost me hundreds of dollars. And I mean, I put a lot of time into that car, and so
right.
that's how I feel about scaling. Is like I feel like scaling should be more like, hey man, come drive your car and have fun. And if you want to compete, I feel like that's more of a comp crawler thing.
Okay.
I mean, I could see both sides of the story, but
Yeah.
scalers just seem like let's have some fun, and let's just come one, come all. Let's just do it. And to me, it seems like that's actually the opposite. It seems like you need to do your stuff the way we want you to do it. Um, and if you don't, then we don't want you here.
All right.
That's the feeling I get. And so,
Yeah, I mean,
and it sucks too, because like I said, I got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and man, they would be totally into the scalers, and it's I even still come back to building scalers for their sake and take them out to like local runs, but scaling is frustrating to me.
All right. I understand your point of view, and I totally get it. And being as in tune with the scale crawling community as I've been paying attention and getting to interview all these people, you said, I think scaling should be, I'm paraphrasing what you just said, scaling is more along the lines of like, hey, everybody come out, have fun, and do a run. And I think that that's like GCM Adventure Series style stuff, and those type of events, like G6 things, are really taking off and exploding like crazy, and probably for along those reasons. I think there's a niche for everybody, and everybody likes things for a different reason. So
Yeah, I mean, teach their own.
yeah,
If you're comfortable in scale, and have a good time.
yep,
If you're happy and confident, whatever, I don't care. Do what you want to do.
all right,
But at the same time, I really wish I could scale. I really wish I could scale and find some happy ground because I think there would be a lot of fun in it.
yeah. So what is one item that you will never leave off of a build that you do? Like, and I'm gonna pause you for a
I
second.
guess we're talking.
I'm gonna pose that one to everybody else. Like, what is the one thing when you build a truck, like you can't go without it? Doesn't matter, scaler, comp crawler, whatever it is. What's the one thing that you have to have?
It's a pretty tough question if you ask me.
See, I come from the scale community where the one thing that mine has to have is it has to have an interior. I can't build a truck without an interior because it doesn't look right to me. Preferably with a driver at least.
Yeah, that's interesting. So are you all about looks over performance then?
No, I'm not. Well, okay. It has to look good, but it can look completely funky, and still perform. I'm all about pushing boundaries and limits. Like, I don't know, it's sitting back there. Um, you probably haven't followed any of my stuff, but I have Trivan. It's got 3 wheels. That one has no performance whatsoever. It's chain driven to the rear axle, 3-wheel drive. But then I have like the complete opposite of that, and it's like this purple pink unicorn truck, and that thing is about as scale performance as I can get, but obnoxious paint, like just because. So
Huh. Yeah, it just goes back to what you're saying, right? It's just there's it's really hard for me to understand that there's people out there that aren't exactly like me, and that sounds weird, but like that's how my mind frame goes, right? Is like I don't understand what you're talking about with an interior. Like I don't understand why you don't want to drive a super and do crazy lines, but it's
but I
the
do
older I'm
want to
getting,
drive a
the
super
more
and do crazy lines. Like, I want to drive a column crawler. It just doesn't make sense for me to build one because there's no one around here to compete with unless I want to drive all the way across the state, which I can go to the EPA guys. But they're like 6, 7 hours away from me, and that's a haul, man.
yeah,
And I can scale in my backyard, like with a whole bunch of people in the community. So
yeah, yeah. I guess there's just so many different factors. I mean, we don't have a comp scene here anymore, but I don't care.
yeah,
It doesn't matter to me. It's like a meditation for me to go out and drive my car. I can drive my car literally for 8 hours for a couple days in a row, and it's so peaceful and it just clears my mind out.
right.
The best thing ever is just sitting in front of an impossible line, and I can literally sit there for an hour, maybe 2 hours, and not make it, and just watch my car and watch what it's doing, and it's just I mean, it's probably the equivalent of like some people go fishing.
Yeah,
It's just sitting there like doing nothing and just chilling out and letting your mind clear.
yeah. No, I've done that before. And when I started initially, my first truck was a ready to run SCX10. But my second one, I bought like somebody's used garbage AX10, and then I started building all kinds of crap, like chassisless or bodiless chassis, like whatever. And I had no skills or any like knowledge, so I was learning it all as I went. But like that's where I was really headed. And then the comp scene took off in my area, and I shifted gears, and so I've been all over the map.
Oh, how long you been in this?
Like 7, 8 years now. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Long enough, huh?
Long enough that I've been wherever. So, but let's get back toward what we're supposed to be talking about, I guess. How many RC vehicles do you have in your collection as a whole?
I've got four. So I've got a Super, a 22 Pro, a Sporty, and then the Yeti. Oh no, that's not true. And then I've got a like my kid's car is like a MOA without a dig,
Okay.
which they could care less about, which blows my mind.
My son loves his.
But they got dude, it's so crazy to me. We've got this neighbor that brings over like a Walmart RC car. You know, it like drives up walls and flips over backwards
Mm-hmm.
and does weird stuff. And they want to go to Walmart and they want to buy this $30 car. And I'm like, hold on, like you've driven. I mean, what are these? These are like, you know, $1,500, $2,000 cars. You guys don't care about this. You want a $30 crawler? You guys are nuts. So I don't understand kids either. Maybe I need to buy on the scaler. Maybe that's what they're interested in.
There you go. My son has a red cat because I got it in like a trade giveaway type weird deal, and I was like, I'm not gonna run that. You can have it. And he's 3 and he loves it. So,
Oh, really?
yeah, just like
That's cool.
stock red cat. Does everything he needs it to do. Can drive in circles.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, maybe I need to get a pistol radio. Maybe it's the twin stick that turns my kids off. I don't know. We all drove twin sticks when we were kids, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what all cars came with when we were kids.
Yeah. So who knows?
I don't know.
So my next question is kind of around the scale crawling community. Do you have any influences in the scale crawling world that you follow? Any people that you follow? Any builders, whoever? And if you were gonna pick someone who should be on the show, either from the scale community or the comp community, who would you pick?
Well, the comp crawling community. Um, I think DravTech, like Tobias.
Okay.
I think I mean that. You know, he's got good morals and values, which I think don't come around so much anymore. But then he's also really an innovative guy. So I think he's the comp guy. And then
Okay.
probably make somebody mad about scale. Like there's probably somebody scale I should mention. But I'm not. I just don't follow scale. Like I really try to stay away from it.
Okay.
Hopefully I'm not
Hey
missing
man, it's
somebody.
all right.
Okay.
Like I don't follow comp
I
crawling,
guess
so
yeah. I guess I should just ramble off a bunch of stuff and just say if I miss somebody, sorry. But I don't know, man. I can't think of it.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. What is your favorite build or truck that is out there that is not yours? So someone else's car, as you call it, that's out there floating around the internet.
There's a guy. His name's Chris House. He has pretty cool cars. He runs kind of his own version of what they call TIE fighters. I don't know if you know what that is.
I think I do.
Yeah, they're just some really kind of cool MOA axles that came out. It's quite a while ago now, but you know they had some issues, and so he's just gone through. Well, he goes through and he builds his own parts, but the parts he builds are just perfection. Like I have no idea how this guy, like he spends hours on the most tedious stuff, and it's amazing. You know, and then there's like Joel Gatlin. His Berg is all handmade. You know, he made all his own stuff. I like people that fabricate their own things. You know, and whether you believe me or not, like I kind of wish everybody in the hobby did that.
Yeah.
It would put me in a business, but the comp crawling hobby went from making your own parts, you know, like making your own dig units, to like what color shocks do I want to run, and like what color screws, and hey, how come this thing doesn't bolt straight on? So I wish it would go back to like the grassroots, like look what I cut out of a chunk of Delrin. You know, look, even if like look at my all thread links, like stuff like that. You know, I like people who do their own stuff, even if it turns out like crap.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm a big proponent of build your own stuff, especially if especially if the money is the barrier, the factor. I mean, that was my problem in the beginning. I didn't have a ton of tools, but I had time and no money and like a few tools, so I just built anything that I could possibly build, and I was not good at it. My first stuff that I built was horrific. Like, I'd be embarrassed to show any of it, but
Yeah.
it's a learning process, and as you learn, you go from there, and you come up with some cool ideas and some cool stuff, and it makes interesting
Well,
things.
yeah, I mean that's the thing though, right? Is nobody wants to do anything because, like you just said, like if they build their own parts, then they turn out like crap because you don't know how to make them. But that's what it's all about, right?
Right.
That it's all about making some crappy stuff because that's the journey of life. It's learning, and the next thing you know, you're 45, you don't know how to do anything, and you get frustrated, you bolt on
Yeah.
because you don't know what you're doing. It's people are missing this big basic part of life. You know, it's like we need to change our own oil again. You need to rotate your own tires. You know, those are you know, like you don't really need to, but you know what I'm saying. Like we all need to start doing things that works out that muscle in our brain that it's just going away. You know, it's everything's a throwaway, everything's bolt on. It's you know, I mean, you ever seen the show Idiocracy? It's people are just getting dumber.
Yeah.
They're just getting dumber. It needs to stop at some point.
Hey, I hear you. I always like to try and challenge myself and build something new. Actually, today is a great example. So I'm getting way off topic here, but last hunting season, I shot a buck that had like this weird antler, and it like had like a handle basically. I was like, my dad went, "Hey, you should build a knife," and I was like, "I can make a knife." So I spent the afternoon grinding down a file to make a knife. I don't have any idea what I'm doing, but it looks kind of like a knife. Let's see how it goes. So
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, even if nobody told you about me, I get way off topic. So I'm sorry, I'm just taking you there, but
no, you're
it's
good.
I
I
mean,
can.
even
I try to keep it very focused, but you know, sometimes it's a good conversation when you're off topic.
yeah, I just flow with it. I don't care if you want to stay up on topic, just let me know. But even like you're talking about hunting, you know, I think people got to get back into that, man. It's same thing, you know, like just going to McDonald's and buying your food. It's not a good thing. I think there's a lot of things we need to take a step back on and realize that it's hurting us. But
Yeah.
which actually leads into one of your later questions that you're getting into.
All right.
So sorry.
Uh, it might be the next one, I guess. Forums or Facebook?
Yeah, that's it. It's it's Facebook's such a huge step backwards in my opinion, man. It's just a place where people go and ask for answers, you know, instead of searching for them. You know, I told you earlier, I got a BMW that I had when I was 16. I had another one, and man, it's like finding answers is like the only chance I have is old posts in forums. Like, there's no way to search Facebook. You know, there's no way to
Yeah.
figure out all these answers, and I need parts for it, and I have no idea how to find parts, and there's no single source. I think we need to be saved by Facebook, and Facebook needs to figure out a forum idea that's searchable,
Yeah.
or we got to go back to forums. I mean, we're getting killed, I think.
Well, and I noticed like I've been following the car build that you're doing, but even like your trucks that you've built and stuff, I noticed like you'll number like your stuff. Like you set
Yeah.
it up so it's possibly searchable if you can go back through and try and find it. And I like that. I haven't tried to search back through, but I don't know how well that's working for you. But I'm guessing that's an
Yeah,
ode to the forums. So
yeah, it's just it's something that I'm just trying to hold on to just in case something changes or I can do something. Numbering all those because even if it's not for other people to learn, which I really like to help other people,
right.
but at the same time, it's a lot of it's for my reference too. You know, it's like I was just working on that car today, and I was thinking like, wow, I need to go reference one of my old builds because I had a lot of different parts on there, and I need to go figure out what I did to solve that on one of my old builds. So even for me, it's I gotta, you know, if a customer asks me a question of how to do something, like I need to be able to find like what I've done, you know, and it's if you just randomly plastered everything on Facebook, like, geez, man, what are you gonna do?
Right.
You know, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a huge step backwards, in my opinion.
It is what it is. I mean, it's the way of the world at the moment. So love it or hate it,
Yeah.
we have to embrace it for what it is right now. Um, what advice? And so I'm gonna rearrange my question a little bit here because you're so into the comp world. What advice would you give someone who's just starting out in the comp crawling world? Like they they've made their decision. They know they want to be competitive. They know they want to run in the comp world. Where do they go from there?
If you're, well, that's the first question. I think you already told me the answer.
Okay.
But the first question is how serious you're going to be. If you're just gonna like screw around in your backyard, just whatever, have fun. Just buy buy like you're talking about, buy a red cat or something. Just have a good time. It doesn't matter. But if you think you're gonna get serious, like, and I don't think this applies just in comp crawling. This applies in life. Buy good stuff, because I go through this all the time too, where I upgrade like 3 or 4 times before I finally get to what I want.
Right.
And that's the best, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got in my life was that poor people can't afford to be cheap, and it's true. So I say if you're going to be serious about comp stuff, buy good, buy the best stuff, and it'll be so much cheaper, and you'll enjoy the hobby because you can actually go drive your car and it won't break. I mean that's one of the things I think that gets people out of like comp crawling really fast is when they buy a car that doesn't hold up,
Yeah.
and then they go out and drive it and they get really frustrated, and they're like, well, why doesn't this work, or why doesn't this perform? And it's like, well, I mean, you get what you pay for a lot of times. So it's hard for new guys to start out with subpar vehicles and expect to compete and have their cars hold up during a comp.
Right.
So that's my advice.
Uh,
I guess I'm just
so
lucky me. It falls right into my hands.
but off the cuff here, what kind of a what kind of a budget would you need to start like heading off into the comp crawling world? Like, I'm not saying you're out to win national titles, but like you're gonna go and like actually attend competitions and attempt to do well there. Like, what kind of budget do you think you need for any to enter into that world?
That's the thing, is you don't really need anything special. It's just like I saw a guy in the forums that was selling. He was selling a set of Berg axles. They're just basic Berg axles, so they're kind of old, but they work great. They're strong. I had my tubes on there, so they were light. Um, I mean, something like that. And he was selling them for $250 for the axles.
Yeah.
Um, so 250, and then I mean, you could find a chassis for probably like $75 that works pretty good. So I mean, you could be $500, and I think if you put it in the right person's hands, I think you could win nationals. I don't think it takes a fantastic car. It just takes a strong car, and I mean, you don't want it to be 10 pounds, but
Right.
I don't think it takes much. I mean, like if you think back in the day, Jake Wright used to drive a Losi comp crawler, and that's why I said the Losi comp crawler, because Jake was driving it, and he used to just hand it to Bergs and XR10s all day long with that car, and I know how horrible that car was. So with the right driver, it's $500 could get you into a national at a world title, I think.
Sounds like a challenge, man. No, I'm just joking.
I've thought about it. Like I told you, I have my car that I built for my kids,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you're familiar with the Exceed crawlers.
I know
They're like
of
a
them. Yeah, I
knockoff.
know them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like you can buy a ready to run. I mean, battery and radio and everything's like $149 or something like that. And that's the base that I use for my kids' cars,
Yeah.
and they don't break because I added a couple Berg parts on there. And I've thought a bunch of times about taking that car to a comp and just seeing what I can do just to prove that point.
Yeah. You know,
But at the same time, a car is important.
yeah. Well,
So I'll contradict myself.
so you hint at something that gets brought up in the scale community a lot, um, and it's like people are always like, "What's the best mod?" Blah blah blah, and driver mod. Like, go out and drive, learn how to use it, learn the skills, do all of that stuff, and it's interesting to hear you phrase it in a different way. Like, you don't necessarily need all of these great things that are out there. Like, they're nice, they're helpful, but if you have the skills, you might not need to quite go there. So
Yeah, I guess I actually need to clarify that a little bit. I think if you're going to go do a competition, like a rock crawler
yeah,
competition, I don't think you need a capable car at all. Um, I think it's all driver. However, I think if you're going to come out and you're going to run lines, um, which I call bounty lines,
gotcha.
if you're going to come out and run like impossible lines with a couple of me and my friends, you're going to need to upgrade your car because that's not all driver anymore. That is a lot car. So that's actually an idea that I've been working on lately. Is I want to figure out how to do a competition that would show the capability of the car because right now I don't think competitions show any capability of the car. I think it's all driver. If that makes sense.
But it's like a chess match, man. And so I'm not in the comp world. I'm from the scale world. But even when you go to a Sorka comp, I tell everybody it's more important to know the rules than to be able to drive well, or to have like $1 million truck. Because if you know the rules and how to finesse your way through the rules, and you pay attention to how much time you have left, and that stuff's so much
Yeah.
more important than just having like $1 million rig to go out and try and win with.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
for sure. It's the same thing in crawling. It's there's a lot of strategy.
yeah,
There's a lot of strategy more so than driving. Like sometimes you just take that gate and move on, which will get you more points than actually just making the gate.
right.
So
Yep. And I think
that's a good point.
I think that's where a lot of people get hung up. And so you guys don't have winches in comp crawling, but we have winches. Like you can easily winch through something and save yourself a pile of time or a gate or a rollover or a touch or any of that. Anything that gives you points, like you can just winch. And so I don't think people use that enough.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't think about that. There's probably a lot more strategy if you bring that stuff into it.
Yeah, so there's a whole list of things with winching, and I'm not even going to get into that whole conversation, but the
Yeah.
strategy behind it is really what gets me, and I totally enjoy that portion. Where do you
Yeah.
see the scale crawling community heading in the coming years? And I know you're more rooted in the comp scene, but what do you see?
That's a good question. I don't know, man. I feel like it's growing, and then I also feel like it's dying. But I don't really I don't take a good look at it. Um, and there's a waxing and waning of just the hobbies in general.
Yeah.
Um, it just like what's trendy right now. And they've had a good run for, what are we talking about? 5 years,
Oh yeah.
6 years? They've been really dominant. And so it's kind of like, maybe somebody will get bored. I mean, you see a lot of that actually in comp crawling. There's a lot of guys that have disappeared that are coming back. And there's a lot of scale guys who are starting to, get into the competition. And they're like, oh, well, this maybe isn't enough for me. So I don't know where scale is going. The thing I would just really like to see, and I guess I'm not the guy for the job, but I would just really like to see uh, people grasping ideas of performance a little bit better. Um, like I say, just the stuff they're doing right now is just a little bit. I don't know. It's almost frustrating to me because like I like to try to progress the hobby, not just through my parts, but I'll share information also,
Right.
just so hopefully somebody else can help progress. It's like open source kind of idea,
Mm-hmm.
And so I like to see things progress. So when I see things that happen on the scale side that are actually digressing, it's just a little bit hard to swallow.
Gotcha.
So that's where I would like to see the scale scene go is having those guys understand a little bit better, just how physics and just general workings of the cars go.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. I think that would benefit me greatly. People would totally laugh when I say that I genuinely, when I build stuff, like it has to have a look. And so I can't define what that means. Like every truck is different, but it has to look right. And if it doesn't look right, I'm not building it. So if that means that something else is off and it takes a hit because of it, like that's all there is to it. It's going to have the look when I'm done. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. We're back to the same thing, right? To each their own.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I have to ask, do you currently have any sponsors other than yourself because you run your own business? And if you do, or you're linked up with any of these companies, why have you chosen them?
I don't do sponsors. I don't understand it
Yeah.
because it's like, and I don't understand the team thing. I've never understood the team thing. Because to me, I don't understand as an individual why you'd want to be on a team. For example, like you'll be on a team and this team offers say $100 parts and you get 20% off all parts. So you just got $20 off a part, but now like you act, I mean, to me, it looks like a lot of work. Like you got to support them, you got to answer questions. I don't know, wear their t-shirt. But then on top of that, like, well, what if another company comes out with an actual better product?
Yeah.
Well, this is $20 we're still talking about. $20, now you've got to run an inferior car for I don't even know what you're doing. I don't know. I think a lot of it's just so people can feel accepted and feel like they're in a clique
Yeah.
or whatever. Which we're back to the same thing. Like do whatever you want to do, but that's why I don't do sponsorship because I don't want anybody to run my parts that doesn't want to run my parts. Um, but I don't want to run anybody's parts that I don't want to run either, and that's the stipulation you get, right? Of being having a sponsorship.
Right.
I would rather just pay full price for all my parts.
All right. I have no clue what happened there. That's a first that it just completely dies out on me. Hopefully some of you guys come back. It's going well too. Very few errors or interruptions or issues at all. Hey Jake, welcome back. Super good time over here with redoing this video, getting the feed back up and running. Thanks guys for tuning back in. I'm sorry, technology always gets me every week. Can't win. Oh hey, I'm back. Me too. Back, question mark, or no, exclamation points. Yes. So we'll wait for Erik to come in. When he comes into the feed, it should just pop him back up because I brought him on as a guest from the beginning. So we'll see what happens. But thanks guys for tuning in. I see most of your names. Like I know you guys tune in weekly. I genuinely appreciate all the support, fellas. I'm gonna ask a favor of those of you who are in right now and who are logging back in and so on and so forth. Throw up some names of people who you'd like to see on upcoming shows. I've been really busy over the summer and my time on faces hasn't been as great. So throw me some names to shoot some messages to and look into, and I would love to get some other people on. Hey, we're back. I have no clue what happened.
Yeah, yeah. Who knows? At least it wasn't me. I hope it wasn't you.
Who knows? I'm just glad. I was afraid because my phone full on froze, so it probably was me. I was afraid it would kill the whole video and just delete it because I didn't get to hit the finish button and upload it. So
Yeah, hopefully not.
it didn't. It's still there, so I'm good with that. We really only have one more question officially on the list of questions anyway. So I mean, we were closing things out anyway, but I appreciate people for coming back in. And if you haven't watched my show, which I know Erik, you were you hadn't spent a lot of time watching, but I always have a problem. There's always some kind of glitch because Facebook hates me. So every time I do a show, there's inevitably something goes wrong. So
yeah, well, new technology kind of,
yeah,
right?
I mean, kind of. And they also seem to update every Thursday. It's weird. I need maybe change.
Oh, 9:45.
Huh? No, not at 9:45, but they update every Thursday. And then when I go to post stuff or whatever, there's always something weird on Facebook on Thursdays. I don't know. But anyway, enough about all that garbage, and let's get back to what we're talking about here. Really, my final question is, what should we expect to see next from you and Deluxe Fab?
I've got a couple parts that I'm working on. But like normal, I don't actually share them until the day they come out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I've always had issues. If I let some information out like a month before it actually sells, somebody usually comes out with their own parts or something. So, the way this market works is like I got to get it while it's hot, and then usually some people will come in and use the ideas, and then it kind of fades out for me.
Yeah.
So, it's actually really important for me to just hold on while I can and not release any information. So, unfortunately, the stuff I have coming out, I can't really tell you about.
All right.
So, sorry.
No, you're good. So really what Erik just said is full scale builds for 2019. He's going for every class, including class 0.
Why not?
So, no.
I had somebody. I built that 3-link chassis. I don't know if you followed that or not,
Yeah, I did.
but I built that. Somebody was trying to tell me to make it like a XL version. It's like, no. Like, and they're like, well, you can make a lot of money with it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just not interested. Like, a lot of people don't understand. I'm honestly not here for the
Yeah.
money. I'm here for the good time.
Yeah. Well, that's the great way to be, man. And I think it came across really well, in your interview and the talking of this evening, but B, I think it comes across in a lot of what you do, because you definitely shoot for performance, and you go in that realm, and I can see it for sure. So
Yeah. Well, thank
yeah.
you.
Well,
I guess that was a compliment.
yeah. I owe you a thank you for being on the show. I appreciate it. Every time I send one of those messages, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if anybody wants to even do this thing with me. So thank you for being on. I had a blast talking to you, man. Hopefully this isn't the last time we ever talk. Hopefully we either meet up sometime along the way of the RC world, or whatever. But it was a great time for me. So
Yeah, man. Like I was trying to tell you this morning, I think it's a really cool idea, and I'm not sure how you'd become a millionaire doing this, but I hope you do. And I think you do a really good job at it, and you're an easy guy to talk to. So it'd be really cool. I try to make it to the East Coast once a year for a
yeah.
comp. So if it's in Pennsylvania or something, it'd be cool to see you out there. And if you need a car to drive, let me know.
That sounds awesome. I would totally take you up on that. So, um,
Yeah, you should.
so anyway, what I was gonna say is, I'm a zeronaire from this. This makes $0, so that's cool. But the uh, the biggest thing I can say is thanks for being on. If it wasn't for people like you just sending back yes, I'll be on, and then just going for it, this show wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be doing this. It wouldn't happen at all. So each and every one of you guys that I interview, I owe it
Yeah.
all to all of you.
It's
So
when it was fun. So.
awesome. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna let you go, and then I'm gonna do something about.
Yeah, it's super fun, and I appreciate
Awesome. So I'm gonna do something about smashing these videos together and uploading them to YouTube, so that happens over the course
it.
of
Okay, I think.
the evening. So, all right. But anyway, thanks for being on. I'm gonna let you go, and then I'll close my show
Okay,
out and do
cool. I
my
think you're
thing
kind of
and go
freezing
from
up
there.
on me again anyway, so.
What's up?
Okay. Thanks, man. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. So I'll talk to you later.
Okay. See ya.
Yep. Bye. All right, guys. Thank you to those of you who tuned in. I'll be going back through and answering comments, questions, all of that stuff